Alright, hey guys, welcome to another edition of RunBuck on Games. I'm RunBuck, got another war recap for you, where we tried to be just a little better at the game of Clash of Clans. Remember that tagline? I'm going to start throwing it back in there. But before we get into it, I want to let everybody know we are looking for some new recruits in the JTJ Main. So if you're at Town Hall 9 with heroes at ideally 15 or better, but close to that might be considered, come on over, take an FC. We'll see if you're good enough. Or if clans want to consider a merge, we might look at that as well. So keep those in mind. But the war we had was with BRCM, one of the longtime affiliates of JTJ Main. And they got us, once again, 87 to 83 this time. It was a close war. We probably had a shot at it till about, I don't know, 2 hours to go, and then we had some misses on some different things. It was a random match, so that wasn't exactly even that you'd see typically like with a potluck type structure, but you know, close enough for hand grenades. But within that, we did have a few really good attacks that we wanted to show from our side. So let's get right into that. It'll be, first off, we'll take a look at the Town Hall 10 crew, because the meta is really moving to where, you know, Town Hall 11's nuked down, and then for the most part, Town Hall 10's nuke across. So the peer hits at Town Hall 10 3-starring is pretty key to making things happen. So let's first look at Honey Badger. Was actually a slight nuke. He had a warden in that, a level 8 warden, but still enough to probably call nuke. So we won't hit that one specifically. But welcome to the clan, Honey Badger. So great. What do you call that? Opening act, if you will. But Chris had a nice, we'll show three flavors of the, as they call it in the meta, GoBoNer, meaning golem, bowlers, and the ner is for miners. But each one did it slightly differently. So the first thing you'll notice on this one, what Chris does a good job of is really good efficiency in terms of, wow, making the cuts on his attack here. Because first he'll use archers on one side and minions on the other, and then he'll do the golems with just one wizard per side. So I mean, the efficiency of that cut to where, because really all you're trying to do is get the royals and the bowlers into a position to move into the mid, and then move off that with, you know, so once you're in the mid, they're looking for a flanking action from one of the sides, usually to protect the queen. So here come the miners off the side to protect the queen. Now she's actually flipping back in. But the thing you want to do is try to keep the queen alive within that. And so he ends up broadsiding, which is interesting because you'll see this attack doesn't consistently hit or not hit a single Inferno first or not. It really tends to just kind of go through the mid. And you can see also really the Royal Bowler component of it really is to just get, look how much he had done at that point. So at this point, he'd lost 3 bowlers to the outside. Look how long that dragon stayed alive. But his queen getting to the mid, and then under her cloak ability, she was able to get the second Inferno. So I think that was actually probably the biggest key. So the question you might ask yourself is, could that have been planned by Chris? You know, this whole having this amount of stuff really swinging that far wide leaves the queen exposed. I think he was hoping to, I mean, and it was this, when you look at it, you can kind of see how it kind of moves out with that. It's an elongated base. So if you attack from this side, it's going to swing more wide as it moves, typically, especially with these gaps that you see here. This gap specifically and that. But so, you know, it's interesting as whether or not he knew, or part of his plan was the queen being responsible for the 2 Infernos. Because you can tell if she hadn't gotten those 2 Infernos, I don't know, did he have enough miners to overpower the Inferno in the middle? Because the other thing was she also triggered these 2 giant bombs, right? So they would have come here, triggered 1, then triggered 2. I don't know. It would have been a lot more questionable. But he ends up having a heal spell, which wouldn't have helped him on the Inferno in the end. So let's look at it one more time. More from the perspective of, can you kind of see in that attack line that the queen will have a shot at the 2 Infernos? So to have the do two-shot Inferno. You really kind of need the queen to have the area cleared. So the bowler's moving into this spot. Oh, look at me go. Every time I do this, I play with this epic pen, don't I? Anybody want me to switch to white? Let's switch to white. But when you move the bowlers into this spot, so again, look at the throw range that you'd have. I don't think they can chuck. She can chuck to that line, so you'd probably have to come down, through, down, and over. So that's the bowler's range within this main area here, right? So at this point. Now, if the queen is there, you want her, I think, to really kind of lean to one side, which is what she ended up doing. I don't think on purpose. She kind of went here, and then she bounced back in, and there was nothing left, so she was shooting along the edge, messing with stuff. And then she came down and got this part first. But you don't want to engage both. Let's look at the ranges. So there's not really a lot of overlap. The two risk areas for the eye towers are kind of like that, right? So the only place where you're going to have the queen or her supporting caster fire from both sides is if they really leaned one side, which is what you want them to do. They're going to focus the king and queen, so maybe they're going to move more this way. Alright, so let's play it one more time and see if it looks like what we just described, if anything kind of jumps out at us. Two golems, bowlers behind, CC's not really pulling them anywhere. The miners really went wide. So look here, the miners are here. He's trying to cut in, and he's what? Why is he so worried about that? Versus if he would have deployed here, they would have been inside more and then popped out. I guess it's better in that this way he's getting the distract value, right? So if he comes this way, these things are still active and firing in on him, so he's getting flanked. But if he comes this way, he's directly in, and the backside support is saturated with what's in the middle. So this deploy is a little bit better. But again, what we're really interested in is how to know that you're going to get two Infernos. So he's got the, oh, there it is. So the jump spell placement really kind of gets you moving over this way, because that's where the hole is. So you basically use the jump to control access or pathing lines such that the queen's range will pick one Inferno first. So you wouldn't want to place the jump here, because then she might wander in here and God knows what she would do, right? Because she could be in range of both at the same time, or she could wander over and do one, I guess, and then she might move forward and come around. But if she comes this way, if she comes through one side, she'll definitely get one, and she's going to work backwards. And as long as the side, here's the key, as long as the side she starts where the jump side is, I lied. Let's go back now and look at whether or not the jump spell was placed before the miners. And the reason why I'm checking that is because the jump spell seems to be setting the pathing for the attack. So if we're going to set the pathing with the jump spell pre-miners, because you could go either way, right? It's a pretty symmetrical base. Yep, and sure enough, so there, the jump spell has set the pathing. You know that your troops are going to move like this. So you therefore know that you want to help her and the queen and the rest of them move through here and then come back. You want to get ahead of her and move through so that her focus is here. It definitely helps out that there's nothing high DPS in range to kind of hang her up as she's at this point, right? But yeah, so the jump down spell down first on the side of the miners, because they're going to clear that space to keep that crew in the middle, and so the queen can loop back, and then they'll actually get in front of the queen. Or no, they didn't. She had to actually fight through that. Did you see that? She had to take this and this together, but with Tome, it wasn't a problem. So Tome could handle both an Expo and the queen. Now, I wonder if the Expo was locked on the queen. I think it was. But then it swapped out. Once she hit her Tome, it swapped out to the outside and shot at the shot at the miners moving through. So anyway, long analysis of Chris's attack, but the attack itself is being used by so many people. Let's take a look at Swoo's flavor of it. And I didn't check. We'll go back maybe and I'll check, but I didn't check the fresh attacks or not. So Swoo's is a little different in terms of the cut. See, so he didn't have the two-staged cut. He just went straight to golems, 2 wizards on each side on the outside edge. So it was a golem, wizard, wizard, golem, wizard, wizard, and then he just blew in. Now let's look at the jump spell placement there. So now he knows he's coming this way. So where does the miners come from? The side that the golems will be on, potentially. Right? So they need support to push them back to where they're not supposed to be. So you want the miners to almost be a pushing force by pushing via the removal of stuff. So it pushes your center team towards the middle. Let's look at it one more time. But I also like his placement. Notice Swoo's placement of, based on where the defenses are outside. So he can basically, without getting shot, he gets two wizards on each side, and it's no big deal, right? And then he places the bowlers behind that. He waits a little while on the jump, which is interesting. Nice use of the bowlers to get a little deeper, clear this channel, right? If he hadn't dropped those bowlers, he just spammed the bowlers in at this point, he'd have this open chain, and then they would kind of wander off this way and get offline. But by being patient and working first the bowlers, he clears this before his dive, before the charge of his team. So this is all gone, right? This is gone, but his cut team really did this. So some, others might have just dropped the jump and then spam it in, and then wonder why it spreads too much. This is really just narrowing the base. Let's see how it flows. Dealing with CC. And here come the miners. And really he placed the jump spell there, but they swung back in this way. I think he was hoping to potentially hit this eye tower, right? If you notice, they swung away from it. I don't think that was his intention, but he ends up getting it anyway, right? With the miners coming from the side, and maybe that's a bonus as well. But they got so instead of getting that one, they got the other one. It was here, I think, and it ends up working out pretty well. But the one consistent thing we did see was that, we're continuously seeing the miners shifted to the side where you want to have push away from. Okay. So the next one we could take a look at would be Nate had. So we're going to switch down. Well, let's do A-Boys. A-Boy had a nice attack as well. Not as A-Boy is a more entry-level Town Hall 10, so we're going to show more of this is more of an entry level, so level 1 Infernos. But an interesting thing here is he's going to use the channel before he places the before he does. Well, he did actually place a jump. I thought he used the channel before the jump, but he was hoping within that jump that he would get to the Infernos. Clearly, he wanted to get the Inferno, but the stuff locked to this, and this pulled through and ignored the Inferno. You would have thought the Queen would have at least locked, but she's, look at her standing down there shooting all this other stuff that has nothing to do with anything. And it was interesting how she just jumped. See how she just went along the line? Because she was here, she saw this was closer than that, I guess. Right? So a little bit of unluck, but it still works out for him in the end. But I think what he was hoping to do was he was trying to come in, and then the Queen would snag this just by default. But what he didn't anticipate is the Queen actually slid down and stayed here. So something more along the lines of what you might have saw with Chris, where he starts here and somehow clears this box before he does his drive, might have been a little bit more effective. Like even a Queen, well, I don't want to do a Queen walk, but it'd be interesting to see if A-Boy agrees that that overall plan didn't work, but in the end the attack worked out. Because I think a lot of times you want to keep the Queen The other thing you notice is that A-Boy's attack actually went offside with his miners. He was coming from this side when his team was here, and I don't think he was trying to push back this way. I think he wanted the team to come to here, and then he felt like they would be here, I guess, and he was going to try to remove one flank of it. Let's look at it one more time. Was that in there? And then we'll go on. What is that? That's 3 attacks, 4 attacks, and then we'll look at AMAGs as the last bonus round option. So that's nice. Boom, boom. Yep, so from the edge. So he's able to, even though he skips the Inferno, he's able to come, enough of it survives, or the Queen actually finally comes back, gets it, and takes care of it. Alright. The only other one was, we want to take a look at, was a Town Hall 9 with Nate. He ended up not using any of his King or Queen abilities. It was fresh attack. I do remember from the notes this one was a fresh attack. So let's take a look at that, and we'll call it a day on the recap from BRCM. So we're seeing the usual cuts. One side's a baby dragon, the other was a wizard. I'm just doing it at quick speed for originally to get the flow feeling. And then it's Valks. It's kind of a VaBo push to the mid. But what's really making this attack work well, I thought, was so he knows that he's going to go in here. You can kind of anticipate it's either going to go like this or like this. Probably this one because the Queen will shoot this before anything. Right? So you know that you're going to be in this box. So what's your risk points? Flanking. Things out of range. Probably. This might even be out of range. From your main attacking force. So all this, if you drive into space, having this all on the outside is a problem. And so what he did really well, if you watch as he's attacking, we'll go back and kind of watch it one more time. What he did well is he knew that that was a problem. You know, he didn't want to be having long-range flanking hitting his troops. So he immediately deploys the hogs here, which I don't understand. So I'd question the hog deployment from the backside. Right, because look, they're kind of chasing the boil. His hogs are fighting with the bowlers to do stuff. I would have come more, unless he's trying to work it come from the backside so it's not distracted, so it's on a distract. Right, they sneak up. If you came from this direction, your hogs might be the first thing targeted before these outside ones get there. See how this guy is still shooting in, so he's able to get. Yeah, I think that's a yearning. But up here he does a really good job surgically deploying 2 hogs against that far flank position that nobody's going to get at, but they can shoot into the mid. And then he's got the same thing going on here. This one's not really a risk of anything. This guy could kind of work some stuff. Notice how these bowlers are able to come through and drive this whole position because the hogs are taking up the damage while the bowlers push around and get their far better DPS down on the field. So I think the hogs were used very nicely to not only reduce pressure from the outside, right, so they're tying this up, but also to distract this other layer at them while the interior teams, the bowler teams, moved out. So definitely something worth watching there from NATO, and a really good attack by him. And I lied. Let's go ahead and see the Honey Badger, because the Honey Badger don't care. One time through, fast time. Here we go. 4 times speed. 4 healer. Don't see that very often at Town Hall 10. But he pushes it through. Where's that tome? There it is. There's the tome for your .5 account. So Honey Badger is working getting his account back to normal leveling and not being a .5 anymore. And strangely, we put him in for this random war, and then we ended up getting tied up with BRCM with it. So kind of matched out with one of their 10.5s. Although that one had like a 20 warden. And some other higher defenses, but close enough. So there you go, Honey Badger. Welcome to JTJ, and for the rest of you, hope it helps. I don't know. We'll have this. We've had a couple of week wars in a row, so I don't know if I'll be documenting those. So it might be a couple days. My warden is down, so no 3-star locksmiths until my warden comes up with Butterburger. All right. So talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.
What am I gonna do? My clan sucks. Hey, it's JTJ.
I think that's an all-out attack.
No, it's the legendary JTJU. JTJU. What? I like Wryhorn. You and this army. Download Clash of Clans for free. Then subscribe to JTJU and win.